The images look like they should be from a war zone, but these are not the troubled streets of Athens. These are not the violent plains of the Gaza Strip, nor the bloody suburbs of Damascus. These images were taken on the evening of June 15th, 2011, and they are on the streets of Vancouver, British Columbia. The violence started after the Vancouver Canucks ice hockey team lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals to the Boston Bruins. Intermixed with the dejected Canucks fans was a group of anarchists who took advantage of the situation. Overall, over 100 people were injured, some of them seriously. A few folks remain in intensive care to this day. Shops, some with their store employees still inside, were smashed and looted, and cars along with buildings were set ablaze. Now, the old adage goes that bad news travels fast, and this was no exception to the Vancouver Stanley Cup riots in 2011. I've been seeing footage of the violence in Vancouver on media outlets across the world, from Australia and New Zealand through to the United Kingdom, even in Kuwait, and all across Canada and the United States. And while Vancouver might not be able to compare to events such as a royal wedding or a group of trapped Chilean miners, the media coverage has been nothing short of spectacular.
The site of so much violence last night, and it's also the site of where a new apology wall, as it's been called, has sprung up. People writing messages of hope for the city of Vancouver, of apology, of letting the world know that this is not something that represents the true feelings of Vancouverites here, and thousands of people have signed it.
Some of the gloss was taken off Boston's celebrations when riots broke out in the streets of Vancouver. Cars and buildings were damaged and dozens of people were injured in disturbances that continued deep into the night.
Vancouver in Canada has the reputation of being one of the best places in the world to live in. So what you're about to see is even more shocking because of that reputation. The worst riot in the city for many years, in fact in decades, turned utopia into a hellish scene. And it all started because the city's ice hockey team lost its chance to win the coveted Stanley Cup.
Chaos unleashed on the streets of Vancouver last night.
There's no words for it, and it hurts so much.
And today, scanning the damage for some.
Last night, that is not Vancouver.
Is too much to bear.
Look at all the mess. I can't believe that this is what happened, you know?
Store windows are replaced by plywood. Glass everywhere is smashed, and here are the leftover burns of cars lit on fire.
Someone in the crowd held up a sign that said Riot 2011, and that's what the crowd did. And now that the smoke has cleared across Canada today, there's anger, sadness, and embarrassment. While Canadians take their hockey very seriously, this was something else entirely.
Good evening. What began on a high note, a possible Stanley Cup victory for the Vancouver Canucks, now has much of the world wondering, how could losing a hockey game lead to this? It's one of the many questions tonight, including where were the police? At least 150 people were injured in the chaos, including civilians who tried in vain to intervene, and 9 police officers. Close to 100 rioters were arrested, but scores of others got away. Perhaps not for long, though. Thousands of fans snapped photos or had camera phones rolling, and tonight the police are asking for those images.
Vancouver police are promising that the rioters will be caught and brought to justice. It helps that many people were caught on tape breaking the law. Police are now asking for everyone who captured video or pictures of the riot to hand it over to investigators who say they have a pretty good idea of who's behind this.
but also some violent scenes in the city that followed the defeat. The Canucks lost Game 7 on home ice to the Boston Bruins. After the match, fans took to the streets to show their disappointment with rioting and looting sweeping the city.
The people of Vancouver are struggling with an ugly reality tonight. Thugs have tarnished the city's image. The scenes of last night's chaos have been played and replayed around the globe. Now comes the hard part, rebuilding a world-class reputation.
Now, as these images are projected across the world, I think it is important to let everybody know that this is in no way representative of the populations of Canada, of British Columbia, or the city of Vancouver. In fact, Vancouverites have been coming out all day and saying just how ashamed they are.
But, I thought that Vancouver may have grown up a little bit. It is disappointing to see the immaturity out here, unfortunately.
Vancouver deserves to win when this is the kind of response that we have.
I think it's actually really embarrassing. It's a shame that people are destroying their own property.
We lost. Definitely disappointing, but at the same time we want to represent our city in a good light, and unfortunately a small group of people out there are not doing that tonight.
I went from so proud of my city to so disappointed.
Stupidity. And people just trash everything for no reason.
I've never been so embarrassed of a city in my life.
As I walk down the streets, they say, Mr. Williams, tell them this isn't Vancouver.
I personally think that people last night were not representing Vancouver.
It's not fair to our hockey team, who have done amazing. This is what their season will now be remembered for.
Well, we're back across the street now, right at the Hudson's Bay building, where all of the windows were kicked out by the rioters. And when the wood went up, it became sort of a memorial to the riot and a way for people to apologize on behalf of the city. This was the first one that went up. On behalf of my team and my city, I'm sorry.
And finally, this is not the first time that a hockey game has sparked rioting in Vancouver. Back in 1994, when the Vancouver Canucks lost in Game 7 to the New York Rangers, a very similar situation developed. Now, police had said that they have developed a plan which should have better controlled the crowds since '94. However, that did not seem to be the case, and it was definitely not enough to prevent another riot this time. As the cleanup in Vancouver continues, I wish all those good Samaritans all the best, and I hope, for the city of Vancouver's sake, that tourism is not adversely impacted. For INET, this is Christopher reporting.